Hello, everybody. I'm Nu-Trix, and today we're going to play with M-Tron Pro from GForce software. It's an emulation, recreation, if you want, of the famous Mellotron M400. If you don't know what a Mellotron is, well, simply put, it's a big tape cassette played by keys. Basically, it was a recorded sound on separate tapes, and as you play the keys, it would play the tapes. So before samplers were something that existed, so in the 70s and the late 60s, Mellotron came out and people were playing it, and it was just absurd the quality they could find, because nobody could play a keyboard instrument before that and play strings that sounded real, or play piano or brass or whatever it was, because piano would play piano sounds and guitar would play, it was all acoustics. So Mellotron became very popular and very big in big bands, popular bands, because it was something that was totally different, and it sounded really cool. So you have it on massively popular songs from the past. Even today, some people still use it. But the Beatles, so many songs were used with that. And it has its sound because the technology of the time was kind of limited to a tape cassette. But very quickly, late 70s, early 80s, first samplers came out. Everybody forgot about the Mellotron professionally because it costs too much. It's tough to maintain. If you want to change sound, you need to change the tapes. So you understand that it sounds interesting today when you look at it, going, okay, there was a very important moment in time for music, and it's part of the evolution of the technology we use for make music. But it's impractical when you think about it. If you want to, the features that you have today to be able to just click a button and have a new patch, it was not something possible at the time, and it cost a lot to maintain, because imagine having, 32 heads, playback heads running at the same time, you're going to have problems. But what's interesting is that because of that technology, it has its own sound, and there's some things you can do with the tape, like slowing it down by pressing on the motor on, and then having, controlling the reality of that thing that was unique in a way compared to what you have today and what you had before. So what's interesting is that people want to have these tweaks and weird, or differences that then in sampling you didn't have. You had other things in sampling, but how do you have these sounds? So the Mellotron, in this case, the M-Tron Pro IV from GForce, is doing that. And they've been doing M-Trons for a long time now. I'm thinking about GForce software. And what they do is an even better recreation of it. So you'll see there's new features in it to be able to go further and controlling it like some people would in the original one. And let's just dive in, and you'll hear the sound, and we'll see what you can do control-wise. Here, you can click here and change. So the screen is now scalable, new thing. By default, a lot of empty space, because the Mellotron, the original, was just a big box with almost nothing to control, because unless you were the technician that dived in and changed the heads, the playback heads, well, it was not something you would do. So you have this, screen here. You basically have the volume, the tone, which is kind of more high frequencies or less, so kind of muffled or not, and A or B, because there's two tapes you can play, so you can switch between the two or mix them. So yes, you could have switched between violin and brass for 2 songs and then play in between for the rest of it. But that's it. That was it. When you open the lid, you have access to the internal synthesis, at least a big chunk of it. So let's do a quick tour of it. You have the top layer here. You have layer A and B. So these are the samples you can load and use. There's a bunch of them. So these have been recorded from tapes. So they sound like, they're from what existed and other things. because why limit yourself to have only the original sounds, but also create stuff that sounds like it or in the family of it, and you still have the simulation of the rest of how it plays. So you have that. You can link them together, and you change something here. You're going to change the two of them, because if I click just A, what I have under it is controlling A. So let's say I put the cutoff here. If I go B, cutoff is here. And then if I move this over the other side, if I put link and I put the two of you in the middle, B and A have the same control. So if you click link, it's basically for the rest of the values that you want to edit, you're going to click the two at the same time. So if let's say you want to do the same envelope for both of them, you click link, click change the envelope, the both of them will be affected by the change you just made. Logic stuff. So after, you can solo it if you just want to hear one of them. So that just sounds really nice. Okay, so what you have is basically a section tape. I'll go back to tape after that, but basic stuff, you've got the cutoff, you got 3 types of filter: low pass, high pass, band pass. You got the resonance, you got tracking, you want it to follow the keyboard. You have type A1 and 2. 1 is the custom design filter found in the previous version of M-Tron Pro. And the type 2 is a new M-Tron Pro IV. Well, it's a 2-pole variable filter. You have a filter ADSR envelope, and we get the amount here, and we get an ADSR envelope for the amplitude. So basic stuff, what you expect out of synthesis. Section here, performance is how you want to perform it. So how it's going to respond to the amplitude, will respond to velocity, or the filter will respond to velocity. So as you play harder on the keys, it will actually change the filter opening or the volume. You have the bend range, so when you play with your pitch bend, how much you want to change. So these are in semitone, so 12 will be an octave. You have the aftertouch, if you have any. If you have the aftertouch, you can have the break, or you can change the value of the filter. Break is interesting. Break is something new. It's a way of playing that some player did, and then they physically slow down the tape by pressing on a part of the mechanical system, and they would slow down the tape. So it would create that special sound of a tape slowing down. So you could control that by aftertouch if you want. So right now it's controlling the filter. So the aftertouch is controlling the filter. Okay, let's close this. You have copy and paste, so you can basically copy part of this to another one and continually working if you want. Because remember that we're in layer A, so you could copy layer A and then continually copy in layer B, having the same value of A and then moving on. You have this section here, which is the FX that you have. You've got A and B, so which one is it? Is it just affecting A, just affecting B, or the two of them? And you have an amplifier, so basically an amplifier. So how you want it to saturate a little bit, have some noise in it, warm or not, turn it off, turn it on. If you like what you hear and you don't want it to be changed by anything, you can lock it. Separately, each of them can be locked. Let's just bring some volume. You have the delay, basically, you have a feedback, you've got a time delay, time and feedback left and right separately. You can have them synced together. You can have them cross-feed each other. There's a mix. And you can have them linked also here. So as you change this, or not. Okay. Ensemble is another effect that you create like other copy of the same sound, so it sounds bigger. So let's turn these off. Okay, so just create these, create a bigger sound. So ensemble and a reverb. You understand what a reverb is. You have, even here, you have modulation and frequency modulation for the reverb, depth, and the damping and the mix. So it really is a cool one. And you get presets. So you can go with these presets. Again, you can still also lock it if you want to lock it. So that's, I would say, the basic stuff. But now let's add the part that makes it a lot different. The fact that you have this tape emulation here, create that other part of the sound, and then you can really use it. So you get the tuning section, basically, is the tape playback, if you want to know. So it's go faster. So you're changing the tune. You get the detune, which is more of a precise fine tuning. You get the wow. So how the tape will change. You get the flutter. You get the rate for that. So of course, you want it to be slower. Instability will kind of generate sometime this part, depending on how you want it. Attack start. So you're not playing at the same place on the playback head. So the attack, let's say we're going to try another type of sound. So we hear the wow, we hear the flutter. So you're kind of playing back or starting the sample later on. It's like you're playing where the head is later. So you don't get, you have the attack of the sound, recorded attack, and you don't have it. You're kind of after it. Now you get the panning, left and right. Because in this case, B will be panned the other side, so that when you use the two of them, they have the left side, and then the volume of it. But what's interesting, you can also have the tape speed. Oh, I still have the aftertouch for filter. So this is a normal speed, an F speed. Yeah, there. So they slow down the tape to have an octave lower and have more frequency in it, kind of richer type of sound. Of course, it has that lo-fi with all that flutter and wow stuff happening. It's really have that little lo-fi. Then you get the reverse. You can play backward. Some instrument, it doesn't sound too obvious because when you push the attack further down, you're kind of playing back before the end of the tape. So you don't have the ending of the tape. So you have that just playing back the other side. So you're skipping. So if you combine the attack start with the reverse, you can have, let's say we try something else that has maybe more of a, you have a piano here, let's say keys. What do you have here? So you have a piano sound. Slow down. Original. Reverse. It's coming. That's it. Because it's a long sound. They recorded a long piano sound. So if you change the start, reverse, kind of difficult for the piano sound. It's too long of a sound. So it depends on the sound. Okay, so you're gonna have to play with that. But you understand the logic. You can just basically. What's interesting also is that you have that break here. Break function here, or the break into the aftertouch here. So break is that if I play it, let's say I'm going to bring some aftertouch here. If I play it, I'm I'm slowing down. I'm basically pressing on the mechanical system to slow down the playback of the head, basically, of the playback of the tape. So this is with Aftertouch, but I feel it's too sensitive. It's like super quick, it goes down. What you have is, if you use the brake that is here by the side of the keyboard, then the modulation wheel of your keyboard will control it. So if I press this, so you really have more control. So this is more interesting as you might want to have some type of slowing down. Notice one thing also, because it's a tape playback, it's imitating a tape playback. If you press one point, the tape will stop. That's it. So it means that if you go, I'm going to play these. So if you listen to music created with a real Mellotron, you would have that. It would be forced upon them to control the length of the notes, because you would have to stop and play again notes because you could not sustain them too long, depending on the recording that you had. So you needed to play the instrument with the limit of the playback heads. Just keep that in mind when you're doing stuff, if you want to recreate the original thing. And so that's it. So the brake is really interesting in the fact that you can just with the modulation wheel. So that creates an even more interesting real-time effect control that is unique to a Mellotron in this case. And the last thing I didn't talk about is the LFO, but I mean, you understand you've got a different shapes, a rate, a depth, and fade in. When you go, where is it going? So the destination is here, pitch. You can pitch filter, pan, level. So I would say that for most people, we're looking to control pitch to create that kind of movement in it. But you already have the wow and the flutter. So it could be interesting to send that to filter to have a little bit of vibrato in there, or moving the filter here, or going into the pan if you want to create that left and right kind of Leslie type of sound, and the effect if you want to create a tremolo on the volume at the end. So all stuff that you can do here. And remember, every time you click on a button, if you're not sure what it is, you see at the top here, it tells you what it is. I just clicked on LFO shape, pink noise. I clicked in here, ramp up. Click here, half square. So if you don't know, you see here, layer A flutter rate. I'm playing, this is the speed in hertz, this instability, and how much you want to hear. So every time you click on something, it tells you the value of it. So it's a quick way to be sure of what you're selecting and where you are. Let's play some sounds. And you have these sample of I don't know what there are. This is weird and fun. That's, in a nutshell, what the new M-Tron Pro IV is all about. So if you like that sound, if you like what you can do to it, of course you can save your own patch and make it the way you want. It has its own lo-fi sound, and it has attitude. It has that presence that is really interesting. That's it. If you're interested, look it up. Like always, stay safe, make more music, and see you soon. Cheers.